and then if that query has succeeded, that means that results have been returned. Something might go wrong and your query might not run, and therefore we're going to get an error. That's why we're checking if the query's worked. Okay, so if the query has worked, after this question mark, what we want to do is we want to set this results num variable to a number, and that is going to be saying MySQL num rows query. So even though we're using this results, even though we're using this results variable and setting it in our condition, we can then use it in our first block that's run. Otherwise, 0. And this is important because if the query has failed, even if, or it's returned no results, we get 0. Okay? So now what we can do is echo out results num, and you'll start to now see how this is pulling together. Because if we search for flash, 3. Remember earlier when I searched for flash in the example in the first part of the tutorial, we had 3 results returned. If I searched for flash pro, that only returned 1. If we search for a load of rubbish, it returned 0. So now we've automatically got a dynamic variable which updates the amount of results we have. Okay, so inside of our function, we now need to return false if the number of results is 0. Okay, so we create an if statement. If results num is equal to 0, I'm using a triple equals because this will always return an integer, whether it's MySQL num rows or just the 0 there. If the results num is equal to 0, return false. False. Else, we need a big block here, which we're going to do if there are results returned. Obviously, if we haven't returned any results, we don't need to do anything. We can just return false, otherwise do something. So what I can now say is echo something found, okay? And if not, we return false, okay? So let's go ahead and test this out in here. Now, earlier I just had 1 equals 2, which meant this would always return false. However, now what I can do is I can reference this function in and say search results keywords equals false. Okay, again using triple equals because we should be comparing to the exact value of false. And remember, if we're returning no results, we're returning false. So this then will say your search for keywords return no results. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this again, and you'll see how that's just changed the way it displays to the user. It hasn't really changed the way it works, but let's go ahead and type in flash, something found, something found. Don't worry about this too much at the moment. It's repeated itself for the simple reason that we are echoing out something here, but when we call it here, we're also echoing something out. So we're not really echoing anything out in our function at all. I've just used this as an example. However, if we go ahead and search for something that won't exist, it says your search for and the keyword return no results. Okay, so it's starting to come together. Now all we need to do is actually grab these results and display them to the user eventually. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to create a while row. And if you've ever taken data from a MySQL result before, you'll know that we need to loop through in order to get a multiple amount of results. So we create a while query with a block, a while loop, sorry, with a block, and inside of this we say results row is equal to MySQL fetch assoc, and then the query in here, which is results. Okay, so let me just explain what this is doing. Results row, we're again setting a value inside of our condition, and this condition means as long as we're returning some results, we are putting the results from results into an array called results row, because MySQL fetch assoc, this assoc actually stands for associative, so you can call it assoc or whatever you want, however you want to pronounce it, but essentially what we're doing is we're getting an array of the returned results. Okay, so in here what we could do is we could say echo, or yeah, we could say echo title. Again, by just echoing title, well, echo results row title. By echoing this, we're referencing the variable first, we're calling the function first of all here and there, so we're going to get a duplicate of this simply because we're echoing something out, but this is just for a demonstration. So let's go ahead and type Flash Pro, top 50 Pro Flash techniques, and again, but we can ignore this one because I've explained why. If we just type Flash, you can see that we've got the 3 articles have been returned. Okay, so this essentially is getting this value from our database. Okay, so now instead of actually echoing it out, we want to create or now say returned results equals something. And you'll notice that up here, remember I created this variable so we wouldn't get an error. Return results is equal to, and bear in mind this is creating a new element of this return results array. This is equal to another array, so we're now delving into multi-dimensional arrays. We can bring this down a bit, so it's going to work the same way. I'm essentially just bringing it down and tabbing across for readability. And now what we're going to say is title, and then this equals and greater than sign to say, you know, we're assigning the value of this key something here, and that is returned, it's results row. Remember earlier we echoed out results row title. Then we're comma and come down, so you just saw I put a line terminator in there, that was a mistake. We're commaing down and we're saying description, and that is equal to results row description, comma, URL, and that's going to be equal to results row URL. So if you haven't already, and no line terminator, sorry, I'll just get used to doing it. So if you haven't looked into multi-dimensional arrays, now's a good time, because this is a multi-dimensional array, and we're going to be using printr in just a moment to show you how it has come out.